When a pilot gets into the cockpit, the first thing they need to know is where they are. That sounds simple, but in the sky there are no roads, there are no street signs, and once you're off the ground, everything starts to look the same. Clouds, sky, horizon, maybe a city far below. So how do pilots know where they are? And more importantly, where they're going? The truth is, flying is all about planning, watching, and checking. Pilots don't just take off and hope for the best. They follow a plan, a detailed one. Before any flight begins, the pilot spends time on the ground looking over maps, checking weather reports, setting up the instruments, and building what's called a flight plan. This plan tells them where they'll take off, how high they'll fly, what route they'll follow, and where they'll land. It includes backup plans, just in case. Let's start with the basics: visual flying. In small planes, especially during good weather, many pilots fly using their eyes. This is called VFR, Visual Flight Rules. It means they look outside and follow the landmarks on the ground. Roads, rivers, train tracks, mountain ranges, lakes, cities, anything that helps them stay on course. These pilots often fly lower to the ground, where they can still see these landmarks. They might have a paper map spread out next to them, marked with their route. As they fly, they keep checking what's below. If the map says there should be a highway and a river crossing up ahead, and they see it out the window, they know they're on course. This kind of flying works well when the skies are clear and you're not too high. It's how pilots flew in the early days of aviation, and it still works today, but it takes skill. You have to constantly check, think ahead, and know how to read both the map and the land. But not all flying is done like this. Once you start going higher, faster, or flying through clouds, you need something more. There's also a key backup: air traffic control. Pilots talk to ATC throughout the flight. Controllers have radar screens and satellite tools. If a pilot loses track of where they are, ATC can help guide them back on course. Pilots are trained to communicate clearly and often. Over time, new tools have been added. Today's cockpits can display moving maps, satellite weather, traffic alerts, and more. Even tablets like iPads are used, loaded with flight charts, checklists, and planning apps. But even with all this technology, pilots still train for the basics. They still learn to read maps. They still learn how to fly without GPS, because tools can fail. And in the air, knowing where you are is not just about getting to your destination. It's about staying safe. Some pilots get disoriented in clouds. That's called spatial disorientation. You feel like you're turning even when you're not. That's why pilots are trained to trust their instruments, not their feelings. This is called IFR, Instrument Flight Rules. In bad weather or above certain altitudes, you have to fly using only the instruments. No looking outside. You read the dials, trust the systems. Stay calm. Airliners fly IFR all the time. Even when the weather is good, they follow procedures that assume zero visibility. It's safer, more exact, and keeps everyone in line. Even private pilots must train for instrument flight if they want to fly into clouds or at night. It takes practice and discipline. Instrument training is a big part of becoming a skilled pilot. When you fly through clouds, you can't see the horizon. Your body might feel like you're climbing or turning even if you're not. It's easy to get confused. That's why instrument flying teaches you to ignore those feelings and trust the gauges. The main instruments a pilot watches are called the six-pack. These are airspeed indicator, tells how fast you're flying through the air. Attitude indicator, shows the tilt of the airplane, both up, down, and side to side. Altimeter tells your height above sea level. Turn coordinator shows if you're turning or banking. Heading indicator shows what direction you're flying. Vertical speed indicator shows how fast you're climbing or descending. When you're flying through clouds or darkness, you scan these instruments constantly. You watch your heading, check your altitude, confirm you're not climbing or descending too fast, and make small adjustments. This helps you stay on course. Now, let's talk about airspace, because not all skies are the same. The air around us is divided into different zones, each with its own rules. Near busy airports, the rules are strict. Planes have to talk to ATC, follow clear paths, and stay at assigned altitudes. These are called Class B and Class C airspace. The further out you go, or the lower you fly, the fewer rules there are. But even then, there are still rules. Pilots study these zones on aeronautical charts. These are special maps that show airspace boundaries, tower locations, radio frequencies, elevation, obstacles, and more. A good pilot knows how to read these charts and avoid restricted or dangerous areas. These maps are often used digitally now on tablets, but the information is the same. There are also checkpoints, fixed spots where pilots check in with ATC or report their position. These might be based on VORs, GPS waypoints, or even known landmarks on the ground. For example, a pilot might say, "Over Springfield VOR at 5,500 feet, heading 270. Now let's go back to GPS and look deeper. Modern GPS receivers in aircraft are extremely accurate. They pull signals from multiple satellites at once and calculate position within a few meters. Some even use WAAS, the Wide Area Augmentation System, which corrects for small GPS errors and makes the system accurate enough for precision approaches to runways. A pilot using WAAS can follow a glide path down through clouds to just a few hundred feet above the runway without needing ground-based instruments. That's huge, especially for smaller airports without full instrument landing systems. There's also RAIM, Receiver Autonomous Integrity Monitoring. This is a self-check system built into many GPS units. It constantly checks whether the GPS signal is trustworthy. If it sees something wrong, it alerts the pilot and might even stop using a bad satellite. But what happens if GPS goes out? That's where those older systems, VORs, NDBs, dead reckoning, and visual navigation become critical. Redundancy is the name of the game. Pilots should never rely on just one source of information. Cross-checking is how you catch errors early. You might have GPS showing one heading, the compass showing another, and your visual reference pointing to something else. If those disagree, something's wrong, and it's time to investigate. Let's also look at how pilots navigate during approaches and landings. Getting to the destination is one thing. Getting lined up with a runway, especially in bad weather, is another. Pilots use charts called approach plates. These show exactly how to get from cruise altitude down to the runway safely. They include headings, altitudes, speeds, and radio frequencies. One common tool is the ILS, Instrument Landing System. It uses ground-based antennas to beam two signals, one for lateral guidance, left-right, and one for vertical guidance, up-down. A plane with ILS tuned in will see needles on the instrument panel. If both needles are centered, the plane is perfectly lined up. Follow the needles and the plane descends smoothly to the runway. There are also RNAV approaches, GPS-based procedures that use waypoints instead of ground equipment. These are becoming more common, especially at smaller airports. If no instrument approach is available or the weather is too poor, the pilot can divert to a better airport. That's part of every flight plan. Always know the alternate. So now we've looked at VFR flying, instrument flight, navigation tools, charts, GPS, backup systems, terrain, weather, and landing procedures. Let's close out this first hour with a look at what makes a good navigator in the sky. It comes down to 5 things. Planning. A good pilot knows the route, the weather, and the backups before leaving the ground. Monitoring. You don't just check the instruments once, you keep checking, cross-checking, and scanning for changes. Flexibility. Things change. A good navigator can adjust to detours, weather, or equipment failure without panic. Discipline. Stick to the plan, follow rules, report positions, and don't cut corners. Communication. Whether it's with ATC, other aircraft, or passengers, a good pilot keeps people informed and involved. That's how pilots know where they are, not just with tools, but with training, awareness, and constant thinking. Even with modern systems, it all comes back to the basics. Know your position, know your path, and know what to do if something changes. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe to see more videos like this.